What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down JT Daniels' throwing mechanics. We're going to be talking about RPO footwork, just basic mechanics with your upper half and with your hips, and how to make a tight throw into coverage on the run, okay? And guys, if you're a quarterback and you want to get better at reading coverages, you want to be able to understand defense, I think that's one of the best things that you can work on right now, especially when some of you are maybe limited in how much you can go outside, how much practice you can get in, you're not practicing with your team. Understanding the IQ side of the quarterback position is so important, so check out that link in the description if you want breakdowns just like this, but we talk all about defensive coverages, how to read defenses, how they can disguise coverages, and how we can beat those specific coverages with plays. Check out that link in the description that says how to beat defenses. You get 100 plus already made breakdowns, plus 16 breakdowns every single month that are new that just stack onto the 100, okay? Great value in that. Hope to get you guys on that soon. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about here is just your upper half when we finish with this throw, how we want to be square with my shoulders and square with my hips. So this is him just warming up before a game, right? What you see when he makes this throw, it's a quick foot strike, his hips are coming through, and your shoulders stay level, right? This is something that you guys can focus on. Like when you guys are warming up, don't just warm up to warm up, right? Don't just be lazy and throwing with your arm, just trying to loosen up your arm, right? You want to be able to take the mechanics serious, because the more reps you get in a certain habit, the better off you're going to be, right? So you see when Daniels is here and he's pushing, how quick that front stride gets down, right? That front stride, that's something you should always be focusing on when you're warming up. When you're warming up, you should never take an overstride. That just shouldn't happen. You should never have the wrong timing with that foot strike. You should be able to get that front foot in the ground as your shoulders are going back, right? Now, this is, if you can get to this L angle right there, he's in this like perfect L, as someone call it. You could be a little bit above that, maybe not a little bit below that, but it doesn't have to be this perfect L. That's just the angle that we talk about, right? So he's in this L angle. So now what's going to bring this ball up, because everybody loves to go straight to that 90, what's going to bring his ball through is this hip drive, right? So you want to be able to rotate not only your back hip through, but also your front hip through. And that's something that a lot of people make the mistake of, is they don't think rotating with their front hip. The way I teach it to my guys is you want your belly button to be even with the target, right? So you want to be able to get your belly button through, get your hips level to the target before the football comes through, because they call it chasing the hip, right? So you see how he's here, front foot down, and you see how much his hips are rotating through and coming through before this football, right? That's something that we could always work on when we're warming up, something that you could always work on anytime you touch the football, being able to get your hips to that target before the football gets there, having a slight strong bend to that front knee, and being able to stay square. You see at his release point here, I want you to look at his upper half, right? This is completely perfect with his shoulders and perfect with his hips. He's in this square position, or you can think of it as his shoulders are level and his hips are level to where he wants this thing to go, right? That's something that you guys can definitely focus on anytime you're warming up. I think a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people are so shoulder-minded with their throws. They don't rotate their front hip enough, so what happens is they lean that shoulder out of there, they dip their head out, and that will push your follow-through out because your body's split down his midline, right? He does a great job of being able to stay square, and when you stay square, it's wherever that follow-through is going to go. Wherever you flick that wrist, that's where that ball is going to go. You see how he flicks that wrist maybe a little bit higher right here, and look exactly where that ball goes. He misses a little bit, I wouldn't say high, but he misses higher. He doesn't hit him right in the stomach or right in his waist, right? You're consistent with where your follow-through goes if you stay square with your upper half and if you stay square with your hips. If your hips are clean, you're able to stay level with your shoulders, you don't lean out of it with your upper half, it gets real fun, because then it's just like you're throwing at a dartboard. You're picking spots, throwing at a dartboard, letting this thing fly. So that's what you guys need to be doing with those upper body mechanics. Just watch at full speed. So 1, 2, 3, drive and get this thing out. Now we're going to be looking at RPO here, okay? So the main thing is that this is an awkward throw, right? RPOs are always awkward throws, but very similar to what we were just talking about in terms of getting your hips to the target. When you don't have your feet all the way set and you're maybe off platform, as some would call it, or this is just, honestly, I think this is just natural RPO footwork. You're not going to be set all the time, because to make these throws in certain windows, you can't waste time getting set and flipping your feet. Honestly, I know some programs do it where you go RPO and then you flip your feet. I'm not a huge fan of it, just because I think it wastes time. I think we can be able to make this throw, and we're going to talk about how we're able to make this throw with just my hips. So you see this action. He's reading a linebacker. It's kind of hard to see, but he comes down on this thing, and we're making this throw. So you see how his hips aren't his feet aren't exactly set to the throw, right? Let's watch this thing full speed. He's throwing across the field right here. Now his feet aren't exactly set directly to the target, right? His feet are a little bit left because of this zone read action, right? He had to give this running back the midline. He had to step out of the way, not the midline, but had to give this running back the line so he could work this work this run if we decide to give him the ball, right? And so now his feet aren't always going to be set to the throw. So it's very important for me to be able to generate torque. My hips got to be in the direction of the throw. When you don't have your feet set, right, your hips are everything. Especially it's the same principle as throwing on the run, and that's what we're going to look at in a second. But it's the same idea. You want to be able to keep your hips at the target, and if you can rotate your shoulders, if you have a good dissociation, if you're able to separate your shoulders from your hips and being able to keep your hips at the target, you can make a lot of throws without your feet set. You look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers, never has his feet set, right? Because he knows that if I'm going to go through reads fast, I'm going to try to make the best possible read I can. I got to be able to make throws, certain throws without my feet set. I got to be able to have my hips to the right side, my feet are going to the left. I just flip my shoulders and throw back across the field. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to throw like that. I'm just saying that's the mechanics behind it, and that's how we can get a little bit better when we're in a situation like this, because I guarantee you, if you want to play high school ball, if you want to play college ball, you're going to have to make a throw like this. It's just a fact. And RPO is so popular these days that we got to be able to make throws without my feet set. And so you see how he's still doing the same. He's got the same normal foot strike. Anytime you're throwing off platform, quote unquote, you still have in certain off-platform throws, you still have a pretty similar foot strike. It's just your feet aren't set to the throw. So you got to make sure that your hips are there, your hips remain level to the throw, and when you can close that shoulder and you have momentum because you're still doing the same foot strike, you're just not set there, and you close those shoulders, that's how you create torque, right? And you see how when he finishes nice and square to this target. His hips are square, shoulders are square, and you're able to change. You could change up arm angles. You could really let that wrist flick go, and we fit this thing into a tight window, right? My feet aren't set to the target, but my hips are. I close my shoulders. I give that nice whip with my upper half and trust those hands to the throw. Make sure you keep your shoulders square and make sure you keep your hips square. Okay, let's watch this thing full speed one more time. So he's going here, works his play action, work those shoulders, got to get this thing out quick. Okay, so now we're going to be taking a look at this throw on the run. This is a very tough throw, and obviously, a little luck goes into this thing, but again, I think this is another mechanically sound throw because you got to be able to put this in the right spot, right? So pretty lucky, great throw, in my opinion. I think threw this into a very tight window, and we're going to talk about how to be a little bit more accurate when you're on the run, and it has kind of the same principle as I was talking about before with your hips. So you see, anytime, I think the most important thing is when you guys step with your throwing side leg on the run, you got to be able to get your hips to the target as well. What a lot of people will do is their hips, and this is something that is I see a lot, at least, their hips continue to go towards the sideline. They'll step with the right leg, but their momentum still takes them back out here, right? And if your momentum's taking you back out towards the sideline and you're trying to throw back across and you step with this right leg at the target, but you're still running and your momentum's going here, it's going to be a weak throw. It's going to go straight in the ground, right? So I think the key is when you step with this right foot in the direction of the throw, you got to bring your hips there as well. So you could stay square with your upper half to the throw so I can be accurate, and it's just a wrist flick. It's just about where I flick my wrist. So you see how when Daniel steps here, and as he steps, right, what's he doing? He's closing that front shoulder. He's taking that ball back to get to that L. So when this left leg swings through and his hips snap through, that ball gets up to that same 90-degree angle, and it's the same kind of stroke that he has when we're just throwing off a three-step drop like we saw in the beginning, or when we're throwing with an RPO, right? So he steps with the right leg, shoulder goes back. Now, again, I want you to see how he does not swing that elbow down. He does not swing this around. That left arm is just there, right? You take that ball back, you're holding that ball, you take the ball back here, and his left arm stays nice and quiet. His shoulders stay level, and his hips stay level. There's no rule on the run that says you have to throw this thing and then finish out towards the sideline. Because what a lot of people do, especially when they're throwing on the left side, they'll step great, they'll get their hips there, and then they finish falling away from this thing, and they let their arm fly out, and it goes either across their body like this or it flies out here, especially when they're throwing to the left. So it's very important. There ain't a specific rule that says you have to finish going to the sideline. You keep your hips there, you keep your shoulders there, and again, it's just a wrist flick. You see how particular he is with that wrist flick. He keeps his head completely level because he's not dipping his shoulder or dipping his front elbow. His hips are to the target as he's snapping that left leg through, as he's following through with that finish there, and it's a great throw and a nice tight coverage. That's how you throw better on the run, especially when it's kind of like, again, that quote-unquote off-platform situation. Let's watch it again full speed. So again, it's a great shot. Great job staying square. No rule that says you got to fade out of there. Only a rule that says you got to get your hips to the target as your shoulders are going back to create torque and leave those hips there. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're a quarterback and you want to get better reading coverages, check out that link in the description. Learn how to read defenses under the tab How to Read Defenses. If you guys have any questions or video suggestions, please leave those in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'll see you guys next time.